There's just something nice about logging onto the Just Create SMP and just seeing everything just working. Just seeing everything moving, functioning, doing the things that you would expect things to be doing. Just taking the time to take in all of the things that have been built thus far. And then turning around and seeing a building that you've built that scale is just a lot to take in, a lot to feel like, how am I going to fill this space? And it's just a lot to think about. And over the last few episodes, we've been working on this huge space. Not only did we clear the entire thing out, I built a massive building and then also got a die sorting processor set up. Because I want to be able to walk in here. I want to be able to select a level on an elevator by walking through, going into the elevator shaft, going up the elevator and making it to this level where I can pick and choose different things that I want. For example, whenever I go to build other things, I want to be able to walk up. I want to go, okay, well, I want some light gray machinery, and I select it. And then my frog over here goes, okay, I'm only going to allow you to pull out light gray things. And so anytime I put something in this processor, it's then going to send it over here and then come back. But I was thinking today, I was like, well, what if I wanted to just like bulk smelt a bunch of stone for a build? Like, it would make total sense to also use this same system for that too. That way I can just have a processing backpack that I keep on me that I load with the things that I want to smelt. I place it on here, it unloads it, and then it bulk smelts it very quickly and then sends it back to my receiving side, which should also have the receiving backpack or the same backpack. I mean, this processing setup is literally set up to handle different operations, either a stack at a time if you use the chest here, or it's set up to do 9 stacks at a time if you use the packager system. For this to work, I mean, all I have to do is flip this lever, and so it goes from backpack to chest. It's so good. But yes, if I want to process 9 stacks of items at a time, I'm gonna need a super processing unit. Well, technically I'm going to need multiple super processing units. And over here, I've been thinking about different designs and different ways that I might be able to come up with a solution to this problem. In order for me to make this, I need to know exactly how fans function. And so fans are pretty interesting. The faster that they blow, well, the further items go, but it doesn't mean that it processes them any faster. To be able to process items faster, you need to have more than one fan blowing on the item. And so this is one solution that you could potentially use. At any given point, there should be at least 4 fans that are actively blowing on a single block space that is within this 3x3 in the center. And I guess to better demonstrate this, we can place down a couple of chutes here. And if items land on top of these funnels, essentially they're going to be processed. And you can see though, this is kind of a weird thing. They do kind of get flung around all over the place, which is kind of a weird thing. That's because these fans are trying to blow items all over the place and they're kind of fighting each other to do so. But this is one concept that I come up with very, very long ago. I mean, I'm talking like all the way back in like 1.19 version of Minecraft. This was a version of the super smelter that I had made, and it allowed you to drop items from a vault and drop them evenly into individual stacks. So you could do up to 9 stacks then. And this was before packages was even a thing in Create. And so it would drop down, you would place all of the items in here, it would smelt incredibly fast, but there is one major flaw with this setup. And I mean, it's actually a pretty big flaw, and that is that it has to be filtered. And there's a big problem with needing to filter things that fans are doing, especially if it's something that you just want to throw items into, have them actually do an operation and then come back. The reason we don't want to do this is for types of stone, for example, like this. If we want to make smooth stone, well, we need to make stone first. But if we filter stone in here, it's always going to allow stone in. And if we filter smooth stone, well, the stone will set here after it's done its first process and will never make it into the chute. So filtering becomes quite a hassle. And so you would never be able to technically automate smooth stone inside of a setting like this. And sometimes you want smooth stone. And this also goes for anything that needs to be smelted more than once. And this also becomes a nightmare with other things. For example, washing. If you end up setting up any kind of washing thing that can technically be washed multiple times, depending on its state, well, that becomes really hard as well. And if it doesn't fit in an attribute card, well, this is another problem in itself. So I was thinking there should be a way that we could technically set up a situation like this that can bulk process items that doesn't utilize this system and can also do up to 9 stacks at a time. And the reason I want to do 9 stacks is because that's a payload of a single package. Well, the max payload, that is. And that's where this design sort of comes into play. So what I'm thinking is we utilize some fans and we utilize a system that's very reminiscent of the one that we're already using in our workshop. And this, of course, is a workshop too. It's going to be a much bigger workshop. But the goal is we have a fan that blows at the same normal pace as a water wheel, so 8 RPM. We have our unit, which is going to be right here. This will be like, for example, our campfires that are going to go here. And then we have a few spaces that it can blow up to. And then this is going to be a vault. I think that's pretty cool. And so if this is the face of the vault, what we can do is we can place all of these to automatically dump the exact 9 stacks immediately out onto the ground, giving us 3 lines that is going to have 3 stacks each in them. I'm thinking something like this. It pushes out and we maybe have some barrels, or we can have a vault right here. Actually, I think a vault would be better. For now, I'll use this so we can actually see inside, but I think a vault would be good to package up and send back. We're also going to need some sort of packaging system on the back here to receive the items, but we also want to make sure that we can process the items effectively. And I was thinking that we could potentially have fans on the side that blow in, but I think we're going to have the same problem here where we end up with jitter in our items. And then items that are here are going to get pushed into the center because both of these are going to be opposing on each other. And well, its center point is right in the middle. So that would kind of defeat the purpose of evenly distributing these. And so we would end up with all 9 stacks flowing down the center, which is not exactly what we want. So I think this is where I'm going to have to rely on the fans processing above it. So maybe we can have a space directly above the funnels here where we're housing our different fluids, for example, either water or what have you. So those get housed here. And then we have our fans pointing straight down and maybe covering the entire area here. So we have this 3x3 directly in front of this. This might be enough to actually get it to convert. This is something that's going to be really hard to test, by the way. Well, I could probably get some chains over here to be able to test this out. I mean, first, we just need to make sure that we can blow the fan. So I'm going to just do one section at a time to just see if we can get our timings right. Okay, so that is definitely blowing down. And then we got to get this whole section rotating. So what I can do is maybe use a rotational speed controller to just grab some of this power maybe directly down just for now. Yeah, that should be easily doable. So I'll just blip in another chain conveyor right now. This is all the fun of testing without being in creative here. So I'm going to grab this, run a shaft down, and that should get us some rotational energy. I just got to drop this down to at least 8 RPM, by the way, which is the speed at which a regular water wheel will work. And by the way, allows a fan to push up to 3 blocks long, which is kind of an interesting fact. And we'll run that shaft down here into the rotational speed controller. Then we'll drop this to 8 RPM. And then we should just be able to channel this all the way over. Yeah, we can use a shaft and then I can connect into here. And you can see that this is blowing basically the way we want it to. Now, really what I want to test is, does this have enough processing length and time to be able to be collected by something like a brass funnel over here? So I want a brass funnel, or any funnel really. I just want to make sure that there is enough time for it to process the materials within this area. So we're going to place this. This is technically blowing the campfire down. So we're doing smoking right here and also across this direction. So there are, in this setup, also 4 fans that are technically going to be blowing on this. The goal is to not have filtering. So let's just take like a stack of kelp. I should be able to drop that into here. That should get sent out, which it did. It got sent out of one of these. And the goal is to get this. Oh, come on, please work. If not, we'll have to extend it longer. Please convert. And it did. Okay, so it did convert over that length, which means that this should easily work. I think the max processing time, by the way, is only based up to the stack size of the item, and the highest stack size you can have in Minecraft is 64, in which we just tested its timer. This is so good. So the goal is that multiple items will be dropped all at once right here, and then will ultimately be collected. And the way we're going to do 9 stacks, by the way, is going to be through a packager. Now I've just got to take this setup and I've got to scooch it up a little bit because I just don't have enough room back here for anything. So temporarily what I can do is I can just get some rotation energy over here, even though it's going to be going through blocks. And that is correct and spinning the right direction. Now we've just got to figure out how we're going to route this, while also avoiding a packager that is also going to have a frog linked to it, like so. Oh my goodness, I think I figured this out in my head. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I just need to take a gearbox. We're going to rotate the power right here off of this and send this into a rotational speed controller into the side. On the speed controller, we'll make sure to take this and drop it down to 8 RPM and then pull the RPM off of the cogwheel that's right here. And that's the rotation speed that we need for our fans and the direction, which needs to be spinning clockwise, at least from our perspective facing behind the fans. Then we can either use another chain drive or we connect up a belt here. It doesn't really matter. I may even actually use a belt in the back, and I think a belt would look kind of cool. So we can actually use, yeah, a belt like this. And now we've got both fans blowing in the correct orientation, connected off of the chain conveyor power, and also using the chain conveyor to be able to pull packages into this vault. Oh, that is perfect. Then ultimately, after all is said and done, we'll have another packager here with an address, and we'll give it a redstone signal. And then we just link this frog to send back onto this chain like that. And that'll send it back to the correct address, which will be what we have this address to. Now, if it does contain fluids and stuff, we are going to need to use like some copycat boards. So let's see, let's take like some sort of block. We can use a gearbox for right now. I need to cover this entire area up like so. And then we need to place in the boards that are going to cover this up. I don't think we have to worry about here because we are going to have brass funnels that are going to be covering this. So each of these are going to be automatically sending out like so. So that's technically covered up, but the boards are going to be pretty nice because the fans actually blow right through this. And this will allow us to have things like lava, for example, inside. You know, on the top, we could probably make this even cooler looking if I, for example, use belts and maybe encased those belts. We can run a belt sideways like this, and also like this, and we can put shafts in each of these to get all of these spinning. Oh, that's cool. All of the fans should still be working. We just now have this really cool effect up top. And like I said, if we encase these look even cooler. Oh, especially on that like vertical side, that looks really nice. But I mean, that right there, that's basically the entire module besides some redstone shenanigans that need to happen for our packagers and actually assigning the packagers. And I think this is at a position and a point where we can contraption this, or not really contraption, but we can make a schematic of it. So that way we can use a schematic cannon to paste multiple in to all of our locations where we need these modules. Oh, and speaking of schematics, I will be sharing this schematic with you over on my Discord. So definitely check out the schematics channel where I will have this bulk processing unit set up over there for you to be able to download and put into your own world. And of course, Discord is linked down in the description below if you're wondering how to get there. All of them in, I just need to check if we can get all of the rotation spinning and that everything is functioning. So I've lined this up so we can take these nice corner angles here and we can get our chains linked this way. So I'll bridge off of this chain system and we'll continue carrying this on straight. Ooh, but this is technically shorter than I originally thought it was. I thought it was perfect, right on the money, but I guess not. Okay, I'm redoing the floor. Now these are all perfect height, which means I can just connect these chains up. And yes, this should get everything functioning as per we had earlier. Oh, that is good to see. So 3 of them are now in, and I do need to get 3 more over here. And I think what I'm going to do is place them in this wall just like this. And then I'm going to place 1 in the center and 1 here. And then I'm going to make this sort of connect a little bit better to each other. And I've still got to figure out how I'm going to line the walls, but I do want to make this more of a cohesive piece, even though this is like a separated stack. But yeah, I'm going to have one in between, which means these are going to be divided with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks in between. Yeah, that's gonna look pretty good. So we can have 3 more modules in this. And so this one is ready to go. All I gotta do is tell it to go. There we go. We'll get the rest of these 3 built in. And just like that, now all 6 are in. But this is where things are going to get a little bit more complicated because much like this system, I want this to function the same way, where we select our freezing, we select our blasting. Depending on whichever one we have selected depends on what process we're actively doing at one time, just like this system here. And it's also going to be attached to this same system too. So that means we're going to need to add 6 more modules to this setup, but I'm probably going to do this one level below, which means I'm going to need something to take up here. I'm going to need some kind of walking path. I know we have jetpacks, but I really do still want some reachable method. So more catwalks it is. Yes, and I did some spiral staircases over here to be able to get up top. We're going to have a full elevator that leads up, but spiral staircases, and then also adding some catwalk railing, which looks so good when it's all said and done. This right here is going to be the way that we get up to this upper level. And so this upper level is going to be where we have our 6 individual button selectors. And so the way that this is going to be formatted, we're going to have a button here, 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 and also here for all 6 of our individual processes. So I've somewhat gotten a semblance of this. I did actually move this over to be in line with this section, which made it a little bit more compact here. So I did tear the whole thing down, got this looking a little bit better, and even changed my signage, which I do want to get glowing here. I made sure that the lever was still selectable. And then I evened this out by adding some spacing on the left and right to push these 2 together. So it looks like one cohesive sign. And then, yeah, made sure that we have our chest drops there. Also got the buttons put together, but I still got to get the redstone going. And I used hay bales here so we can have a banjo. Yeah, I feel like the processing section is going to need to be a banjo. But yes, I have copied the exact same section. We have redstone repeater going into a block. This accepts that redstone for everything, then shares it to this channel, which by the way is linked to every reset switch. And then that leads into these links, which I then need to program that are going to be for each of these stalls. Once everything is said and done, you can see right here, I have them kind of filtered for what each of them is going to be, except for this one right here, which this is technically substituted at the moment for Dragon's Breath, which we're going to go get here in a second. But over here, I'm going to have the one that gets used the most being the closest. So this one is going to be filled with lava. That's going to be doing blasting. Then we have washing. Then we have haunting, all on these 3. And then on this side, going from the right into the left, this is going to be the smoking. Then we also have the freezing, and then we'll have the ending. With this redstone setup, by the way, I mean, it is so good. I was taking a look at the redstone bulbs, and I was like, yeah, could I potentially use that for this setup up here? And the more I looked at it, the more I realized, like, this is still a better solution, in my opinion, at least for what I'm trying to achieve. And this allows me to have indicators with redstone lights, just a lot more space to do things that the bulbs they just don't really give you. By the way, the bulbs I'm talking about are the rose quartz lamps here. These do have some really cool functionality, don't get me wrong. And these would be used in smaller setups. But yes, I'm still going to say this right here is a better solution for this setup. And plus, I got to show you guys some really cool redstone mechanics. And all this said and done though, I can select my location, it deselects down here. I select this location, it deselects this one up here. And this just worked so good. Right, so how are we gonna control these redstone frogs, as that's our next major setup here. I have very limited space, but I should be able to get in here and actually control these frogs and make sure that we can set them up with a similar solution over here, where we have in the back some sort of redstone torch that's powering a cart contraption that is powering the contraption to turn it on and off, and we can use a redstone link to do that. So I've just got to get something over here like that. To make this simple, I can just use the exact same name we have here. This is just our naming convention that we are using for the dies, but it can also be carried over here. We have to use the same name for the system regardless because these are all redstone controlled. So we just need to make sure our frog can accept packages from the closest location. So just like that, that frog is in here, and we'll name this dying frogs just like all of our others because these are being redstone controlled. So whatever one button we have selected, that's the only frog that will be active, and that will be the only one in the chain line that has that active name, which means it's the only package location that it can actually go to, which is just such a phenomenal way of doing this. I love this setup here. Okay, so the rail I'm going to place here, place our cart assembler. And now for this, we are going to have a cart. So I am going to need to make a cart because this requires it for it to become a contraption. So I'll place the cart in there. Now this needs to be glued together. So we'll just glue the packager to the frog, and everything else is just figuring out how we're going to assign a redstone power solution to the assembler itself. So I'm thinking what we could do is just have industrial iron right here, because this needs to be a vertical gearbox that goes back into this solution. And then we could place a redstone link on the back of this to give this block redstone power, and then use a redstone torch here. And when we give this block power, it'll invert that redstone torch, meaning it will be turned on, which is what we technically want. So now I just need to take my clipboard and go over here and make sure I copy this signal, which is going to be for the blasting one, and go back, and then we'll paste this in. And if we have that one selected, there we go. If we have it selected, then that should be active. So if I push this button, we'll notice that is now on. All other frogs are off, but this frog should be active, and I can actually see its name. Yes, and this is going to be the solution, I think, for everything. I think we're just going to use a redstone torch right here to turn it off, create a little NOT gate, and then do the exact same thing for every other module. With that, everything is now done. I have all of these frogs connected in. They are currently turned off unless I push this button, which I will have to get some sort of selector on here. And as of right now, it will do one at a time, turning them on and off. For example, right now, this one is now active while all the others are off. This is beautiful. Before I get to work with adding all of this stuff into each of these bulk processors, what's your thoughts on the button selector system? Is this overkill? Is this too much? Is it just right? I would love to hear from you down in the comments below. And do you think I could have done the redstone a different way or a better way? Like I said, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Now, back to setting all of these up, we've got to do some interesting things with our lava buckets. For example, this is going to be blasting, but if I place lava here, it's going to spill out everywhere. So I am going to need to also put some boards on this side, but I'm actually unsure if a board is actually going to block this from dropping. I really hope that's not the case. I mean, I guess I could try to test this out. I think the best way to do this would be to remove all of these from here, and just to see if this actually drops the item directly out. If I place a chute, for example, on top, or maybe place another brass funnel on the side where it goes in. Yeah, that would work. All right, let's see if this will drop the boards out. And it does. Okay, so having the copycat board underneath the brass funnel doesn't actually prevent it from dropping items. That's pretty cool. So this means that I should be able to get a board in here. Now, something that I probably should do for this bottom section is I have this. If I place a dirt on this side and I place the lava here, I should be able to quickly place dirt here. All right, and then place the board in, and then I'll just break this part. And then I can actually remove the dirt and let the lava sort of span out. Then I can do the same thing for the other side. Just break the dirt, let it span out, place that in, and now we have the entire section done. Now this upper side should be a little bit easier to get the lava in because I just need to place one solid lava piece right here, either directly on this fan or onto the board, I think. And so I'm gonna place it here, and that should flow over. And there we go. That is every single section now flamed. This is already looking so cool. But there's still more to do. We have to go in the back and basically check what we're doing next. This one is going to be filling with water. So it's basically the exact same setup because we're going to be covered the whole thing with water, or I could do waterlogged leaf blocks. You know what? I think the water is just going to be much cooler to have. Now, next on the list, things are going to get a little bit crazier. I can actually break the bottom of these boards for this because we don't really need them. And then the bottom actually doesn't need them. And we can just use regular blaze burners, but they're not going to work just by themselves. This is going to be for haunting, by the way. So I'm going to place all of the blaze burners in, just like so. And then we need to use flint and steel to ignite them. This is actually going to work like a smoker. So this is just the normal smoking method. But if we place soul sand in here, this now becomes a haunter without having all of the campfire smoke particles that generate. Campfire smoke particles are pretty rough as they don't dissipate when you're away from them. And yeah, they're pretty rough on how they respect the particle limits. Also, by the way, we are going to have to make the bottom of this section solid. As you can see, these particles are being extended fully with the fan and are actually going through the catwalk and going through metal girders, which I didn't actually know was even possible. And now we get to the ones that are going to be quite difficult, honestly. Now, powdered snow is just kind of a pain to locate, but thankfully it can just be placed in and it holds its position, which is really nice, meaning I can just place this in and notice it's going to stay in position. I just need quite a few of these, right? So we have 9, 10, 11, 12. So we need 12 source blocks of powdered snow in order to get the freezing one up and running. And also, by the way, I am going to be covering these back up with boards because I have a plan for them after we get all of them up and running. So let's go out and do a little bit of exploring and let's potentially find ourselves some powdered snow. And that sunset is beautiful. Now, I think the place we are going to find powdered snow the most is going to be the mountains over here. So we have Beardstone's mountains all the way over here. All of this area, we should be able to potentially find it. However, powdered snow does just look like regular snow. So that's kind of a thing. This also gives me a chance, though, to catch up on what everybody's been working on. This is really starting to develop and is looking really nice. I love all the bridges that he's put throughout this area. All these little workshops. And then we got all of these things off. And then we got another little build that's Throwlash. It's been working on different projects. And then what in the world? Then I believe this is Foxy's masterpiece. Is that a drone? This is what I love about this server. There's so many cool creative things that are just happening all over the place. I mean, inside of here is an entire city. What in the world? And these signs are so well done. Like, it looks like a neon signs everywhere. That's so cool. This is so creative. There's so many cool things going on here. Anyways, up on the mountain, we should be able to find powdered snow. I've just got to basically click my bucket on the snow until we potentially find one. Is that? Huh. Yeah, I've never seen one on a mountain like that. Ah, here we go. So this is powdered snow. You can see that weird texture here. I'm just going to collect a few buckets of it, right? We need several. And now I have 12 buckets. On my way back, I just wanted to take a look and see what does the factory actually look like from Beardstone's point of view. Yeah, honestly, I should probably make the backside of the building look a little bit nicer. That is pretty plain. At least this building looks nice and the view of the mall is pretty good. Oh, and also the view of the bridge is nice. Oh, but look at that. The mall sign points right here. Oh, that can't get any better. That's too good. With all of the buckets, I'm going to go ahead and get all of this powdered snow placed in. I don't think I've ever used this freezing mechanic. This is kind of interesting. Being able to place all of this in to make ice. Like, I mean, we should probably make some sort of ice factory. It wouldn't be too difficult to do, I don't think. I mean, we would just need some snow golem to be able to make snow. We can pack the snow into ice, which I have done before. And then we could turn it into any variant of ice with this system. That might be a fun project for the future, making an ice factory. Now, keep in mind, these bulk processors, by the way, they are going to be used for basically this workshop. This is just a mega workshop that I'm building for being able to send mass amounts of items to be processed for builds and things like that. But we could use these modules in any of our automation processes. It's literally a module that works perfectly with factory gauges. While it being quite overkill for that, but it definitely would work for them. Now, with all of this exploration, we have one final one to do. This is going to be bulk ending, which is probably the weirdest one out of all of these. And the way bulk ending works is we can either use a dragon head or we can use a dragon's breath bucket of fluid. So liquid dragon's breath. And the way that we actually obtain liquid dragon's breath is by taking a bottle of dragon's breath and draining it. And in doing this, we get 250 millibuckets. And so to make a full bucket, we would need 4 bottles of Dragon's Breath to make one. And for this setup, we are technically going to need 2 buckets worth, one for this central part and the one for one up here, which should spread. I'm assuming it would spread much like lava or water or anything like that. This means I'm going to need to go on an adventure, and I have yet, believe it or not, I've yet to go to the end. And I also only have 1 ender pearl, and I don't know where the actual end is that everybody has already opened. So instead, I'm going to have to, well, find my own, which means I need some cleric trading, mainly to farm up some ender pearls, because believe it or not, Silent actually isn't farming these, I don't think. So I've got to do some old-fashioned cleric trading, it looks like. Yep, level this bad boy up until we can start, well, getting some ender pearls to buy. I mean, at least I have something to use all of this gold on. But yes, ender pearls, beautiful. For this whole process, I have a plan. I have a plan to infiltrate the end and then ultimately die, because I know the dragon has already been summoned in, but I don't know if the dragon is actively still there, if somebody had resummoned it. So I will need the supplies to resummon the dragon, because we are going to need Dragon's Breath. But I'm also going to need the means to be able to technically get back home, just in case. So I'm going to need 2 Eyes of Ender, and I want to make myself an ender chest so that way I can put all of my things in it and then die. And I know this sounds absolutely wild, but this is a way we can technically do all of this. I'm going to place my bed here with our ender chest, and then I have an ender chest on me so we can put all of our backpacks and everything inside of it before we ultimately, you know, take the L. And you know what? While I'm in the end, I might actually grab another elytra. You know, that way I can maybe give one to Kev, like give an extra if I can potentially find another. So I'll take another one for myself, give Kev one so he can make a jetpack finally. Yeah, I think that would be good. Now to farm the summoning items, I am going to need some more gas tiers, and unfortunately we don't have a way of getting those besides, well, taking on gas. That's pretty normal. But yes, I need to get some end crystals, so into the nether I go. Oh, and the magnet is going to come in so handy here. So remember, by the way, I don't have any nice gear on at all. Ooh, but I do hear a ghast. Ah, yes, there is one right here. 2 of them, actually. And I could hit the ball back at them, but I think just hitting them directly might be a better option. And might grant me, I don't know, I could try to hit it back. Come on. Yeah, that's probably not a good idea at all. I'm just going to take them out with the sword. Come on. Yep. And perfect. Gas tiers? Still no gas tiers. That's not good. Finally, I got my first one. Out of all of those gas, I ended up getting a gas head, which is pretty cool, and I got enough gas tiers. I only needed 4. I technically have 1 back at the base. By the way, this new music disc that you actually get from the gas are really good. For example, if I go ahead and I place down a mechanical arm and place a depot, I can have this pull from here, I can have this place onto here, and I just give it the disc. And this, it's a really good song. It could be even better, by the way, with the arm having itself some goggles. This is too good. All right, here it goes. Oh yeah, with the goggles, it's so good. But with that chaos out of the way, after becoming DJ Chosen here, I need to get these end crystals made up, so if we have to respawn it, we have it. And then I only need 12 Eyes of Ender, potentially. I already know where the portal roughly is, because whenever I was mapping areas out, trying to load in some chunks, and I was looking for certain materials, I was able to see where the end portal was. Or at least a end portal, so I know where one roughly is. But I'm unsure if that's the one that everyone used whenever they did go and take on the dragon. But I think I have everything now sorted, I just simply have to get to that location. And judging by the map, I have lined myself up perfectly, so all I have to do is mine straight down, and we should be where the portal's at. And there we are. So the water goes straight through, break this, so we don't have to worry about nasty silverfish. Oh boy, and this is a completely empty portal. None of it's filled out. Oh no. Yeah, that's, I'm glad I brought everything here. So I guess without further ado, let's place all of our eyes in. And then I have my own personal portal. And I should be ready to jump in. And yes, we've made it to the end. And yes, the dragon is completely gone, which means I get to summon it back in. With end crystals in hand, it is now time. Time for me to get this all for a bulk processing unit. I'm going to respawn the dragon, but I'm not really worried about the dragon hitting me or anything like that. We should be fine. I just need to collect some of the dragon's breath by using the bottles. And the dragon is now active again. Aha, and here is our first dragon's breath. I gotta grab as much as I can. And so I think I'm just going to fly off in this direction, and I'm just going to continue until I see some end islands. And finally, they start popping in. And so it is time to look for, well, end cities. Remember, I need to find at least 2 elytras. For a little bit of time, finally, I have found one, and I just really need to rush in here as quick as possible. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop down in here, switch to my main gear, just run in. And I'm not even going to worry about this guy. I'm just simply going to grab this and dip out. Like, that quick is how I want to do this. And then also, I'm going to pop in. I'm going to grab the dragon head as fast as possible. Swap to the elytra, and I am out. Oh, and there's another ship over here. Oh, my goodness. Yep, the exact same thing, just to make sure it's not a fluke. Going to rush in, let this guy shoot, grab my elytra, hop out, don't even get hit. It's that good. I'm also going to run up here, grab the skull just as a memento, which is very nice. Swap to the elytra, and I am ready to dip. And with that all done, I think it is time. It is time for me to place down the ender chest, get all of my items placed into my bag, everything that's on me, and making sure I grab all of my gear, all of my trinkets, my other backpack, making sure everything is available, throw it all in here, and be prepared to lose out on all of my gear and all of my levels. Well, not my gear, my levels mostly. And then it's time to die to the void. I think that's the best way to go. And so all of our stuff should make its way back home if I did everything correctly. Goodbye, cruel world. Ah, that feels good. And now I return back home, back to my chest, which has all of my goodies in it. And before I do anything else, I do want to run over here to Kev's base and drop off that elytra, because I know he'll need it. And this is going to be a perfect spot. I'm going to place it right here with a little sign off the side that says, gift from Chosen. And yeah, we'll say arrow going this way. And inside will be an elytra. And you know what? I might as well also drop in a dragon's head, because I would only realistically ever need one. That way he can finally make that jetpack. Yeah, that'd be pretty nice. But now, after all of those shenanigans are gone, let's finally get the dragon breath set up. So the way that I can do this, because we have fluid hatches, oh, this makes this so easy. We can place a fluid hatch directly on a drain. We don't need to worry about a pump or anything fancy like that. We just take our dragon's breath, toss it on here. It's going to drain. And we need to do 4 of these, which is going to give us enough to be able to bucket the entire thing out. And so long as there's an entire bucket worth, well, we can use the fluid hatch to pick it up. And once all of that work is done, the same thing that we just did for all of our other setups, well, need to be done here. We just need to take some sort of block that doesn't convert these into a special version, place all of this in. We're also going to have to get all of our boards down. I think I was using boards, right? Boards for everything. So cover this up, and yeah, we're gonna have to figure out how to place this in here quickly, and then also get more of these blocks placed in. I don't know how much this is going to expand, so that is something that I've got to kind of keep my eye on. So I'm assuming it's going to work just like water. So I place that quickly, place that in, and you can already see that this allows ending to happen, which is so cool. All right, so same thing here. I'm going to do that. This one, I might be able to just break it from the bottom. That would make it a little bit easier. So yeah, we just, fly down. I thought I had my jetpack on. That only gave me a mild heart attack. Yeah, we could just go ahead and break this. I think it'll just auto swap. And does it expand out? It does, and it works just like everything else. Ending with the liquid is new to me. I have used the dragon's head before, but I've actually never used the liquid in this capacity. So I didn't actually know if it was going to fully work, but that hurts a lot. Ow. I wonder if this could be used to harm mobs in a mob farm. Would assume so, because this is dealing magic damage. I think that's what Dragon's Breath deals. Specifically magic damage, which is a kind of a hard to resist in normal Minecraft. It's a hard to resist damage type. But there we go. That gets placed in. Oh, and there's so many particles. But that is every single type of processor set up, and we can do it now in bulk. So now I guess the moment of truth, we should probably test this before decorating. So I'll place down my backpack, grab out a whole bunch of cobblestone from here, so that way we can basically process an entire chest worth of cobblestone into stone and just see how fast this can actually do it from a backpack. So let's try this. I need to make sure that we have the smelter set up, which currently is the lava bucket. I got to come up with a way to identify these, but that is set up. We need to switch this to backpack mode and then make sure everything in our backpack is ready to go. I don't know if it can actually pull from the stone cutter slots, but I'm going to place this in. That's going to then unload, and we should see it make its way all the way over here, the only location that is available, and that should start dumping out cobblestone incredibly quickly, by the way. The only unfortunate part is I don't have a way of sending it back just yet. But is this forming? Yes, it is. You can see it's turning into cobblestone. That is then going into this vault. Now we've just got to get identifiers on every single one of these. Oh boy, and we also need a lever. That's right, plenty of levers. The name we need to put on the sign is Hugh Hopper, and yeah, we'll get this on here. Just place the sign like this, put the name Hugh Hopper, and then give it a redstone signal, and then that frog should start sending it back, and it is going to store it inside of that vault, by the way, so it should get stored in there, in which we can take this backpack and place it over here. And then that's going to start unloading the packages inside of here. However, we are getting regular cobblestone back, which has me concerned that something's not working, or item stacks were combining because it wasn't automatically pulling in. Did, however, find a solution. I figured out exactly what could be happening, and it's that the bottom is pushing a little bit too fast, because normally a water wheel, we would be dropping directly dead center, but these top ones I feel like are getting pushed maybe a little bit too far. So instead of setting the speed to 8 on here, I've set it to 6. And of course the schematic is going to have it set to 6. And now with that set to 6, which I'm glad I used a rotational speed controller, we can now test, and I will show you that this will process all of them, all cobblestone, directly into stone. There's a lot in here. Just look at how much this is going to do. This is like over 4,000 stacks, by the way, or 4,000 items that it's about to process in such a short period of time. So it's doing the thing. It's going over there. Everything has already been pulled out of here because it pulls 9 stacks out at a time. We'll deposit that so that way we can get our items back. And we can see that this is all being converted into stone right here. That is so many items right here. And then that is going to get pushed into here, which is just going to send packages out. As soon as it sees that there's a certain number of items, it's going to get thrown into here, and it's going to get pushed back into this system. And this is how fast we just processed like 4,000 cobblestone. That only took a few seconds. It is honestly absurd, and is probably one of the quickest ways you can process items with Create. Another cool thing about this farm is because we didn't use filters, whenever it receives a package, if we accidentally have the wrong button selected, well, it's just going to flow through the system, and it shouldn't actually be converted unless there is a conversion for it. So if we send something that accidentally gets put through the ending and it doesn't have a recipe, it's just going to flow back through, and it's going to end up all in our output. Nothing should get stuck. I do want to try out the bulk ending, so I'm going to select the one that is defined as bulk ending. And what I want to do here is I want to just place in a bunch of cobblestone and have it convert. So this should send the opposite direction. Takes all the packages. That's the only one that is activated at the moment. And you can see our button selector is working. That should drop all the cobblestone down. I also lowered the speed on these. And that should convert it into Instone unless it has a longer timer, which I doubt it does. Is it going to convert? And look at that. It is converting to Instone before it makes it all the way through. Let's grab our backpack. And look how quickly we can farm Instone. Instone is incredibly painful to farm. It doesn't mine very fast, even with the beacon. So being able to farm it is incredibly powerful. I do have to get the names for all of these though on here. So we'll slap that on there. There we go. We've got the sign going. I'm going to get the rest of these signs put on here. And all of this is making its way back to the bag, in which it'll make it a wrap around. There it goes. And into the bag, we have so much Instone. Oh, this is wonderful. This is the kind of stuff that just makes me super happy. Well, like after all of it is put together, seeing it function, it's a beautiful thing. So now it's time for me to place in all of the different things that identify what each of our operations are doing. So for example, that is the first one. Then we have the snow bucket, and then I am going to use Dragon's Breath, but I do want to set all of these to actually represent Dragon's Breath now that we have the item to do it, which also means that this one over here also needs to be set to Dragon's Breath. So all of this will kind of match up and should look really good once it's all said and done. I think I can click that there. Perfect. So now that one's identified. Everything is linked together. And then finally, our final item right here, which now gives us an indicator of what is actually selected. The only other thing I really want to do for right now, because we're going to have to hold off a little bit on the decorating part, is place in the copper grates. Now, copper grates will still allow this to pass through, but I wanted to have something other than just being a plain copycat board. And I also added glass up at the top too, which just allows us to see what is processing up there. And I think overall, this whole project has been a success. And just don't forget, schematics for this will be over on my Discord, where you can find schematics for all kinds of stuff, including this board right here. Many of the other projects that I've built, you can find it in the schematics channel, where I do have tons of cool things over there, even stuff from last season. So definitely be sure to check that out. And guys, if you enjoyed today's episode and you learned something new, whether it was about Redstone, how to bulk process, how to use some of these awesome create mechanics, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. And now, without further ado, it's time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to The Wanted Players 7. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. Guys, there is so much more to do in this building, so much more to put in here, so many more cool things to get set up, and to turn this into the ultimate create workshop, which is ultimately what this mid-level here is going to be. And if that's something you're interested in, I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and as always, thanks for watching.